Now, let us see bus arbitration. The device that is allowed to initiate data transfers on bus at any given time is called bus master. There can be only one bus master at any given time. Bus arbitration is the process by which the next device to become the bus master is selected and bus mastership is transferred to that device. The two approaches are centralized arbitration. A single bus arbiter performs the required arbitration. Second, distributed arbitration. All devices participate in the selection of next bus master. A conflict may arise if both the processor and a DMA controller or two DMA controllers try to use the bus at the same time to access the main memory. To resolve this, an arbitration procedure is implemented on the bus to coordinate the activities of all devices requesting memory transfers. The bus arbiter may be the processor or a separate unit connected to the bus. Now let us see centralized arbitration. A single bus arbiter performs the required arbitration. See the figure 4.20. Normally a processor is the bus master. Processor may grant bus mastership to one of the DMA controllers. A DMA controller indicates that it needs to become bus master by activating BR line. The signal on the BR line is the logical or of bus requests from all devices connected to it. Then processor activates BG1 signal indicating to DMA controllers to use bus when it becomes free. BG1 signal is connected to all DMA controllers using a Desi chain arrangement. If DMA controller 1 is requesting the bus, then DMA controller 1 blocks propagation of grant signal to other devices. Otherwise, DMA controller 1 passes the grant downstream by asserting BG2. Current bus master indicates to all devices that it is using bus by activating BBSY line. The bus arbiter is used to coordinate the activities of all devices requesting memory transfers. Arbiter ensures that only one request is granted at any given time according to a priority scheme. BR bus request, BG bus grant, BBSY bus busy. The timing diagram shows the sequence of events for the devices connected to the processor. DMA controller to request and acquires bus mastership and later releases the bus. See the figure 4.21. After DMA controller 2 releases the bus, the processor resources bus mastership. Now let us see distributed arbitration. All devices participate in the selection of next bus master. See the figure 4.22. Each device on bus is assigned a 4-bit identification number ID. When one or more devices request bus, they assert start arbitration signal and place their 4-bit ID numbers on 4 open collector lines ARB0 through ARB3. A winner is selected as a result of interaction among signals transmitted over these lines. Net outcome is that the code on 4 lines represents requests that has the highest ID number. Advantage: this approach offers a higher reliability since the operation of bus is not dependent on any single device. For example, assume two devices A and B have their ID 5010160110 and their code is 0111. Each device compares the pattern on the arbitration line to its own ID starting from MSB. If the device detects a difference at any bit position, it disables the drivers at that bit position. Driver is disabled by placing 0 at the point at the input of the driver. In example A detects a difference in line ARB1, hence it disables the drivers on line ARB1 and ARB0. This causes pattern on arbitration line to change to 0110. This means that B has one contention. Now let us see bus. Bus is used to connect main memory, processor and input output devices. Includes lines needed to support interrupts and arbitration. Primary function: to provide a communication path for transfer of data. Bus protocol is set of rules that govern the behavior of various devices connected to the buses. Bus protocol specifies parameters such as asserting control signals, timing of placing information on bus, rate of data transfer. A typical bus consists of three sets of lines: address, data, and control lines. Control signals specify whether a read or write operation is to be performed, carry timing information, that is, they specify time at which input-output devices place data on the bus. Read or write line specifies read operation when read or write is equal to 1, write operation when read or write is equal to 0. During data transfer operation, one device plays the role of the bus master. Master device initiates the data transfer by issuing read or write command on the bus. The device addressed by the master is called as slave. Two types of buses: synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous bus: all devices derive timing information from a common clock line. Equally spaced pulses on this line define equal time intervals. During a bus cycle, one data transfer can take place. A sequence of events during a read operation. At time t0, the master processor places the device address on address lines and sends an appropriate command on command lines. See the figure 7.3. The command will indicate an input operation and specify the length of the operand to be read. Information travels over bus at a speed determined by physical and electrical characteristics. Clock pulse width t1 minus t0 must be longer than max propagation delay between devices connected to the bus. The clock pulse width should be long to allow the devices to decode the address and control signals. The slaves take no action or place any data on the bus before T1. Information on bus is unreliable during the period T0 to T1 because signals are changing state. Slave places requested input data on data lines at time T1. At end of the clock cycle at time T2, master stops captures data on data lines into its input buffer. For data to be loaded correctly into a storage device, data must be available at input of that device for a period greater than setup time of device. Now let us see a detailed timing diagram for the read operation. See the figure. The picture shows two waves of signal except the clock. See the figure 7.4. One wave shows the signal seen by the master and the other is seen by the slave. Master sends the address and command signals on the rising edge at the beginning of the clock period T0. These signals do not actually appear on the bus until TAM. Sometimes later at TAS the signals reach the slave. The slave decodes the address. At T1 the slave sends the requested data. At T2 the master loads the data into its input buffer. Hence the period T2 TDM is the setup time for the master's input buffer. The data must be continued to be valid after T2 for a period equal to the hold time of that buffers. Disadvantages: the device does not respond, the errors will not be detected. Now let us see multiple cycle transfer for read operation. See the figure. During clock cycle 1, master sends address or command info the bus requesting a read operation. The slave receives and decodes the address or command information. See the figure 7.5. At the active edge of the clock, that is the beginning of clock cycle 2, it makes a session to respond immediately. The data become ready and are placed in the bus at clock cycle 3. At the same times the slave asserts a control signal called slave ready. The master stores the data to its input buffer at the end of the clock cycle 3. The bus transfer operation is now complete and the master sends a new address to start a new transfer in clock cycle 4. The slave ready signal is an acknowledgement from the slave to the master. Now let us say asynchronous bus. This method uses handshake signals between master and slave for coordinating data transfers. There are two control lines. Master ready (MR) is used to indicate the master is ready for a transaction. Slave ready is used to indicate the slave is ready for the transaction. The read operation proceeds as follows. At T0, master places address or command information on bus. At T1, master sets MR signal to 1 to inform all devices that the address or command info is ready. MR signal is equal to 1 causes all devices on the bus to decode the address. The delay T1 minus T0 is intended to allow for any skew that may occur on the bus. Skew occurs when two signals transmitted from one source arrive at a destination at a different time. Therefore, the delay T1 minus T0 should be larger than the maximum possible bus skew. At T2, slave performs required input operation and sets SR signal to 1 to inform all devices that it is ready. See the figure 7.6. At T3, SR signal arrives at master, indicating that the input data are available on bus. At T4, master removes address or command information from bus. At T5, when the device interface receives the 1 to 0 transition of MR signal, it removes data and SR signal from the bus. This completes the input transfer. A change of state is one signal is followed by a change in the other signal. Hence, this scheme is called full handshake. Advantage: it provides the higher degree of flexibility and reliability. Now let us see interface circuits. An input-output interface consists of a circuitry required to connect an input-output device to a computer bus. On one side of the interface we have bus signals. On the other side we have a data path with its associated controls to transfer data between the interface and the input-output device known as port. Two types are: parallel port transfers data in the form of number of bits 8 or 16 simultaneously to or from the device. Serial port transmits and receives data 1 bit at a time. Communication with the bus is the same for both formats. The conversion from the parallel to the serial format and vice versa takes place inside the interface circuit. In parallel port, the connection between the device and the computer uses a multiple pin connector and a cable with as many wires. This arrangement is suitable for devices that are physically close to the computer. In serial port, it is much more convenient and cost effective where longer cables are needed. Functions of input-output interface: provides the storage buffer for at least one word of the data, contains status flags that can be assessed by the processor to determine whether the buffer is full or empty, contains address decoding circuitry to determine when it is being addressed by the processor, generates the appropriate timing signals required by the bus control scheme, performs any format conversion that may be necessary to transfer data between the bus and the input-output device, such as parallel serial conversion in the case of a serial port. Now let us see parallel port. Keyboard interfaced to processor. The output of the encoder consists of bits representing the encoded character and one signal called valid, which indicates the key is pressed. The information is sent to the interface circuit. See the figure 7.10. Interface circuits contain data register, data in, and status flag SIN. When a key is pressed, the valid signal changes from 0 to 1, then SIN is equal to 1. When ASCII code is loaded into data in, SIN is equal to 0. When processor reads the contents of the data in, the interface circuit is connected to the asynchronous bus. Data transfers on the bus are controlled using the handshake signals master ready and slave ready.